Claire, stop acting like the whole world owes you a place in the frame, Vanessa said. You left. We just made the pictures match. My sister photoshopped her daughter into my place at her wedding. When I asked why, she said, "You never belonged there anyway." So I played the original photos at our parents' anniversary party, and her perfect family image collapsed in silence. For a second, I could not breathe. I was staring at my sister's wedding photo. Vanessa in ivory lace, Grant beside her, me in a pale blue bridesmaid dress, holding a bouquet and pretending the day had not broken something in me. Only now, I was gone. In my place stood Lily, Vanessa's daughter. Lily was 8. She had not been born when that wedding happened. My name is Claire Whitmore. I was 32, living in Pittsburgh, designing products for a company that stored cloud albums and restored damaged photo files. I was not a hacker. I simply knew edited images, wrong shadows, blurred hairlines, copied backgrounds. And that photo was not an accident. The Whitmore house sat outside Lancaster, Pennsylvania, with white porch columns and pumpkins on the steps. Patricia and Alan Whitmore looked like people who served cider and never raised their voices. Inside, love came with assigned seating. Vanessa stayed close, brought the grandkids, and posted family memories online. I moved to Pittsburgh and became difficult for needing space. That Sunday, Mom called softly, "Claire, honey, can we just have one peaceful afternoon? Come for lunch. No drama." I drove under a gray, late October sky, telling myself maybe time had softened them. Mom opened the door, hugged me quickly, then studied my sweater. "Sweetheart, you look exhausted." Dad lifted one hand from his recliner. "Hey, kiddo." Then Vanessa arrived with Grant, Lily, Owen, and apple pie. Mom held her like a hero. Dad turned off the news. I stood by the kitchen island with a glass of water, smiling like someone trying not to disappear. Then I saw the wall. Disney, 1998. Christmas, 2011. My college graduation. Vanessa's wedding. Frame after frame looked almost perfect. Almost. There were gaps where my shoulders should have been. A hand curled around empty air. A background stretched too cleanly behind where I had stood. "Mom," I asked, "what happened to these pictures?" Patricia kept taking plates from the cabinet. "Vanessa cleaned them up a little. They look better now." "Better," I said, "because I'm not in them?" The room went quiet. Dad looked out the window. Grant checked his phone. Vanessa smiled. "You always hated family photos, Claire. I thought you'd be relieved." I looked back at Lily standing inside a year she had never lived through, wearing my place like a borrowed dress. For the first time, I understood that my family had not misplaced me. They had edited me out. I kept staring at the Disney photo. In the original, I had worn Minnie Mouse ears and pink sneakers, my cheeks sticky from cotton candy. Vanessa had stood beside me, annoyed because I kept leaning into her shoulder. On Mom's wall, there was no little girl in pink sneakers. There was only a strangely wide patch of blue sky where I used to be. "Mom," I said, keeping my voice low, "you can't call this cleaning up." Patricia turned from the cabinet with that tired smile she used whenever I became inconvenient. "Claire, please, it's Sunday." "As opposed to what? A good day to erase your daughter?" Vanessa let out a soft laugh. "See? This is what I mean. Nobody can say anything around you." Grant slipped his phone into his jacket pocket. "Maybe we should eat before the food gets cold." Of course. Food first, truth later. Or never. Dad cleared his throat but did not look at me. His silence had always been dressed up as patience, but I had learned the difference. Patience waits for the right moment. Cowardice waits for someone else to fix it. We sat at the dining table under a brass chandelier Mom polished before every holiday. Roast chicken sat beside mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, cranberry sauce, and a basket of rolls wrapped in a linen napkin. It looked like comfort. It tasted like cardboard. Vanessa spoke about Lily's school play. Mom leaned forward, glowing. Grant described a property deal outside Harrisburg, and Dad asked questions like Grant was giving a lecture at Harvard. Owen spilled water and everyone laughed. No one asked about Pittsburgh. No one asked about my job. No one asked why my hands were still shaking. I tried once. Our company is testing a feature that shows edit history on shared albums, I said. Vanessa lifted her glass. That sounds intense. Mom smiled without warmth. Claire has always been drawn to intense things. There it was. The label placed gently on the table, like a folded napkin. Too heavy, too sensitive, too much. I looked at Dad. Do you think those pictures are fine? He cut a piece of chicken smaller than necessary. I think your mother wanted the house to feel peaceful. I laughed once. Not because it was funny, but because my body had run out of better responses. After lunch, Mom brought out apple pie. I pushed back my chair before she could slice it. I should get on the road. Patricia followed me to the foyer with a plastic container of leftovers. Take this. You barely ate. I'm not hungry. Her face tightened. Claire, don't punish us because you're upset. I'm not punishing you, Mom. Then stop making yourself the victim. That word landed harder than a slap because she said it so softly. Behind her, Vanessa stood near the staircase, one hand resting on the banister below all those polished, altered memories. I looked past them both at the wedding photo one last time. You didn't remove me because the pictures looked better, I said. You removed me because you liked the family more without me in it. Mom's mouth opened, but no answer came. I walked out without the leftovers. The porch pumpkins smiled their carved, empty smiles as I got into my car. By the time I reached the road, the house was glowing behind me, warm in every window. From the outside, no one would have guessed a daughter had just been erased inside it. The first time my family called me dramatic, I was 21 years old and zipped into a bridesmaid dress that hurt to breathe in. Vanessa's wedding was held in 2013 at a renovated barn outside Lancaster. The kind of place with string lights, mason jars, polished wood floors, and a photographer who kept saying, "Beautiful, ladies, just beautiful." Nothing about that weekend was allowed to be imperfect. Mom had a clipboard. Vanessa had a schedule. Grant had the calm smile of a man marrying into a family that already treated him like a prize. I had a pale blue dress, one size too small. It's fine, Vanessa said when I told her the zipper pinched my ribs. You only have to wear it for one day. It's hard to breathe. She looked me up and down in the bridal suite mirror. Then stand straighter. Slouchy makes it worse. Mom came behind me and touched my hair. Not gently enough to be kind. Honey, just try to look happy for your sister. That was a rule in our house. Feeling hurt was allowed only if it did not disturb the person causing it. At the rehearsal dinner, we sat in a private room at an Italian restaurant with framed wine bottles on the walls. Servers brought Caesar salad, chicken marsala, and little plates of tiramisu. Everyone toasted Vanessa and Grant like they were royalty. Halfway through dinner, I leaned toward Mom and whispered, "Can we ask the seamstress if there's another size? I really don't think I can wear it all day." Vanessa heard me. She set down her fork and laughed. Not loudly, but just enough for the table to turn. "Claire," she said, "it's one day. Can you not make it about you?" Heat crawled up my neck. A cousin looked at his plate. Grant smiled politely, like he had just witnessed a small inconvenience. Mom stood, took my elbow, and guided me into the hallway near the restrooms. Her voice stayed soft. That made it worse. "Claire, listen to me. This weekend is not about your feelings. I'm not trying to ruin anything. Then don't, she said. Your sister has worked so hard. Can you please not turn your discomfort into a family emergency? I remember staring at the patterned carpet, swallowing tears because crying would prove her point. Later, in the parking lot, Dad found me beside the catering van. I thought maybe he would say, "That wasn't fair." I thought maybe he had seen me. Instead, he put a hand on my shoulder and sighed. "Let's just get through tomorrow, okay?" So we did. The next day, I wore the dress. I stood beside Vanessa under the white floral arch. I smiled until my jaw ached. I held the bouquet. I posed for every photo. In those original pictures, I am there. Not happy, not comfortable, but there. After the wedding, the story changed. I was not the sister who had endured a humiliating weekend quietly. I became the sister who almost made a scene, the one who always needed attention, the one who made good days heavy. A dress became a verdict. And for years, whenever I objected to anything, Vanessa would tilt her head and say, "Are we doing the wedding thing again?" No one asked what actually happened at that wedding. They only kept the label. And labels, in my family, lasted longer than love. For 3 days after that Sunday lunch, no one mentioned the pictures. Mom texted me a recipe for pumpkin bread. Vanessa sent a photo of Lily holding a school certificate. Dad reacted to one of my old messages with a thumbs up, as if a yellow hand on a screen could replace a conversation. That was how the Whitmores survived anything uncomfortable. They waited for silence to harden over it. Then they stepped across like it was solid ground. The week before Thanksgiving, Mom called while I was at my desk in Pittsburgh. "I hope you're coming Thursday," she said. "I'm doing the usual: turkey, cornbread stuffing, sweet potatoes, the cranberry sauce you like." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she remembered my cranberry sauce and forgot my face in a family photo. "I don't know, Mom." A small pause. "Claire, can we please not make the holidays heavy?" There it was again. Heavy. A word they used when truth entered the room without permission. Vanessa texted later, "Don't be weird, just come." No apology, no explanation, just an order wrapped in sisterhood. I typed 3 different replies and deleted them all. Thanksgiving morning came gray and wet. Pittsburgh streets shone under thin rain. I made coffee, sat by the window, and told myself I was not waiting for them. Then Mom sent a picture. The dining table was already set. White tablecloth, gold napkin rings, crystal glasses, candles, a roasted turkey waiting under foil. Little handwritten place cards leaned against tiny pumpkins. Patricia, Alan, Vanessa, Grant, Lily, Owen. There was even a card for Biscuit, Vanessa's golden retriever, because Lily thought it was cute to give the dog a seat near the kids' table. There was no card with my name. Below the photo, Mom had written, "Still hoping you'll come. I saved you a plate." I stared at that message until the screen dimmed. They had not forgotten me. That was the part that finally cleared the fog. Forgetting is accidental. This was arranged, measured, centered under warm candlelight. They wanted me to drive 245 miles round trip, walk into that dining room, and accept being the daughter without a chair. I set the phone down and laughed once, dry and sharp. Then I opened it again and zoomed in. My name was nowhere. Not on the table, not in the reflection of the silverware, not even in the empty space beside Dad's chair where I used to sit as a kid. For years, I had wondered whether I was too sensitive. That morning, the question changed. How small did they need me to become before they could call the day peaceful? I did not answer Mom. Instead, I made toast, burned one side, scraped it over the sink, and ate standing in my kitchen while rain tapped the glass. By noon, Vanessa posted pictures online. Family tradition, full hearts, so grateful. In one photo, Biscuit sat beneath the table wearing a plaid bow tie. Hundreds of people would see that dog had belonged. No one would know I had been invited without a place. That was the genius of my family's cruelty. They almost never slammed doors. They simply removed your name, then smiled when you knocked. That night, I pulled a cardboard box from the back of my closet. It was taped badly, labeled college stuff in black marker, and smelled faintly of dust and old paper. Inside were notebooks, expired student IDs, a cracked phone charger, and a small silver hard drive I had not opened in years. My hands shook before I even plugged it in. The device hummed against my desk. Folder after folder appeared. Summer trips, birthdays, Christmas mornings, scanned school projects, family albums copied before Mom moved everything into shared cloud storage. Before Vanessa could curate it. Before Mom could call it cleaning up. I opened Disney_1998. There I was. Minnie Mouse ears, pink sneakers, cotton candy stuck to my fingers, Vanessa beside me with one hand on her hip, pretending to be annoyed. Dad behind us holding a park map upside down. Mom laughing with sunglasses on her head. I pressed both hands over my mouth. Next came Christmas_2011. I was sitting near the tree, holding our old gray cat Jasper, who hated everyone but tolerated me. The lights behind us were blurry and warm. My hair was messy. My smile was real. Then camping_2007. Dad kneeling beside a half-built tent while I held a flashlight against my chin, making a monster face. Vanessa was caught mid-eye roll. Then my college graduation. Black gown, cap tilted, Mom and Dad on either side of me, Vanessa slightly behind us, texting. I had not imagined any of it. I had not invented my own childhood like some lonely person desperate for proof. I made a new folder on my desktop. Originals. I was there. One by one, I copied the files. Then I opened Vanessa's public albums and placed her versions beside mine. The differences were surgical. A patch of clone sky, a shoulder blurred into wallpaper, a cropped edge that removed my arm. In one Christmas photo, the curve of my fingers still rested on the back of a chair, but the rest of me had been softened into a brown smear of background. Whoever did it had not been careless. They had been patient. My job had trained me to notice compression patterns, edit histories, missing metadata, and the strange smoothness left behind when software tries to make a lie look natural. I use those skills every day for customers who wanted to recover wedding albums or rescue baby photos from damaged drives. Now, I was using them to prove I had belonged to my own family. Around midnight, I found my 10th birthday. Chocolate cake. Paper plates. Grandma Eleanor standing behind me with flour on her sleeve because she had helped bake it. I was leaning forward, cheeks puffed, ready to blow out candles. 10 little flames. 10 years old. Still visible. Still there. I cried then, but differently than I had cried before. Not helplessly. Not like a child waiting for someone to open the door. These tears had weight. Evidence has weight. I saved 3 backups. One on the hard drive, one on my laptop, one in a private cloud folder no one in my family could access. Then I wrote the first note beneath the Disney photo. Original file from personal hard drive. Created before Family Cloud Archive. Claire present in image. I stared at that sentence for a long time. It was plain. Almost cold, but it was the first time in years my life sounded undeniable. Bethany Reed called me on a Tuesday night while I was labeling photo files with the focus of someone defusing a bomb. I almost did not answer. Bethany was my cousin on Dad's side. I'm Marjorie's daughter. The kind of woman who remembered birthdays without posting about them. We had been close as kids. Then adulthood stretched us into different cities, different jobs, different calendars. Still, when her name lit up my phone, something in my chest tightened. "Claire," she said without hello. "Were you at Aunt Marjorie's Christmas brunch in 2011? I sat very still. "Yes." "Red sweater? Hair clipped back? You were holding Jasper because he scratched Owen's balloon?" "Owen wasn't born yet." "That's my point." My mouth went dry. Bethany lowered her voice. "I'm at Mom's house. She has that old Christmas photo in the hallway. Except now, you're not in it. There's this weird blur near the tree, and Vanessa told Mom it was a better version because the old one looked cluttered." Cluttered. That was apparently what I had become. Not a daughter, not a cousin. Visual clutter. I could hear dishes clinking behind her, the low murmur of a television. Ordinary family sounds carrying an extraordinary kind of cruelty. "I thought maybe I remembered wrong," Bethany continued. "Then I saw the camping photo. Claire, I remember you holding the flashlight under your chin and scaring Grandma. You made everyone laugh." I closed my eyes. For weeks, I had been building proof, but proof can be lonely when no human voice stands beside it. "Beth," I whispered, "I thought I was losing my mind." She answered so fast it broke me. "Claire, you're not crazy. I remember you there." I pressed my palm against my mouth, but the sob came through anyway. Not pretty, not controlled. A sound from somewhere younger than 32. Bethany did not rush me. She just stayed on the line. After a while, I sent her the Disney photo, the Christmas comparison, and the wedding image with Lily standing in a year she had never lived. A minute passed, then another. Finally, Bethany said, "Oh my God." That was all, but it was enough. We agreed she would not confront anyone yet. Vanessa had a talent for turning questions into accusations, and accusations into proof that the questioner was unstable. Bethany would simply take pictures of what she saw at her mother's house and send them to me. "No heroics," I told her. She gave a small, humorless laugh. "Trust me, I learned from this family. I'll smile and gather evidence." After we hung up, I sat in the dark with my phone against my chest. Nothing had been fixed. Mom had not apologized. Dad had not grown a spine. Vanessa had not admitted a thing. But the room felt less airless. For years, my family had treated my memory like an unreliable witness. That night, someone else took the stand, and she said I had been there. For the next 2 weeks, I slept in pieces. After work, I made coffee too late, sat at my desk, and opened every public album I could find. Mom's Facebook, Vanessa's Instagram, Grant's tagged photos, Aunt Marjorie's old posts, church picnic albums, birthday slideshows, anything with the Whitmore name attached. I built a spreadsheet because panic needed somewhere to go. Date posted, event, original source, altered version, Claire present, Claire removed. Notes. It looked clinical. It felt like reading my own obituary in installments. Vanessa had posted a camping memory from 2007 with the caption, "Best summers were always the simple ones." In her version, Lily sat beside Dad near the fire pit, holding a marshmallow stick. Lily was 8. That camping trip happened before Vanessa even met Grant. The edit was sloppy around the flames, but good enough for anyone who was not looking for me. Another post showed Christmas 2011. My face had been softened into a blur near the tree, but my hand remained on the back of Bethany's chair. 4 fingers, half a sleeve, proof too small for my family to bother erasing. Mom had commented beneath it, "My favorite people." I stared at that sentence longer than the picture. Not because she had excluded me, because she had done it publicly, gently, beneath a heart emoji. Then I found my college graduation. My original photo showed me in a black gown between Mom and Dad. Vanessa stood behind us, looking down at her phone. The posted version was cropped tight around Mom, Dad, and Vanessa. The caption read, "So proud of our girl." Our girl. Not me. Her. I saved screenshots. I downloaded what I could. I labeled everything in neutral language the way my work had trained me to do. Version posted by Vanessa Hale, June 2021. Original from personal hard drive. Visible inconsistencies. Cloned background, altered light source, partial hand remains. I did not write liar. I did not write cruel. I did not write, my sister tried to erase me from my own graduation. The file said enough. By the fifth night, a pattern emerged. The oldest altered posts were from nearly 4 years earlier, but the serious changes had accelerated after Grandma Eleanor's health scare the previous spring. After that, I vanished from more family memories, especially the ones tied to property, holidays, and legacy. Legacy. That word started appearing everywhere. Whitmore legacy, family legacy, what we build together. Apparently, what they were building required fewer daughters. Near dawn, I found one more photo. A backyard barbecue at Aunt Marjorie's. I remembered standing behind Bethany, laughing with a paper plate in my hand. In Vanessa's version, I was gone, but the shadow of my body still fell across the grass. They had removed me and left the darkness I made. I leaned back in my chair, exhausted, cold, and strangely calm. For years, they had told me I made things heavy. Now I understood why. I had weight, and they had been trying to edit around it. The invitation arrived on heavy cream paper, the kind people order when they want elegance to feel expensive. Vanessa and Grant Hale, 11 years of love, loyalty, and family. I stood in my kitchen, still wearing my coat, reading those words while rain tapped against the window over the sink. Then I saw the photo. It was their wedding portrait beneath the white floral arch. Vanessa glowing, Grant smiling, Patricia dabbing her eyes in the front row. And beside Vanessa, where I had stood in a pale blue bridesmaid dress, was Lily. Not a baby, not a shadow. Lily as she looked now, 8 years old, smiling in a wedding that happened 3 years before she was born. For a moment, my mind refused to accept it. Then the details sharpened. The wrong angle of her shoes, the too bright light on her hair, the bouquet floating awkwardly near her hand. My body understood before my thoughts did. I slid down the cabinet until I was sitting on the kitchen floor with the invitation in my lap. They had not just removed me from a Facebook post. They had printed the lie, sealed it, stamped it, and mailed it to me like I was supposed to admire the paper quality. My phone buzzed. Vanessa, hope you can come. Please don't make this awkward. I laughed, then choked on it. For the next week, I barely slept. Work meetings blurred into blocks of sound. I forgot meals, reheated coffee, then forgot that too. My apartment became a wall of evidence. Printed photos, sticky notes, dates, arrows, screenshots. It looked obsessive. Maybe it was. But obsession is what people call survival when they are not the ones being erased. Maya Collins came over Friday night with soup, ginger ale, and the expression of a woman prepared to drag me back from whatever cliff I had found. She was my best friend in Pittsburgh, sharp-eyed, warm-hearted, and allergic to polite nonsense. "Claire," she said, stepping over a stack of printed photos, "what the hell is going on?" I told her everything. I expected pity, maybe concern, maybe the careful voice people use when they wonder if grief has made you unreliable. Maya picked up the invitation, stared at Lily in my place, and her face went cold. "Babe," she said, "this isn't family drama. This is emotional abuse with better lighting." That sentence cut through the fog. Not because it healed me, because it named the room I had been living in.
Nếu bạn là Claire, bạn sẽ im lặng để giữ hòa khí hay đứng lên lấy lại sự thật của mình? Hãy để lại một lượt thích, bình luận lời khuyên cho Claire và nghe tiếp vì phía sau tấm thiệp này còn một bí mật lớn hơn nhiều. Maya sat beside me on the floor and took the photos from my shaking hands. You need support, she said. Real support. Not another family argument where they vote on your pain. I don't even know what I'm trying to prove anymore.
Yes, you do. She tapped the imitation. You're proving you were there. I looked at Lily's edited smile, at the borrowed space where my younger self used to stand. For the first time, I did not wonder why my family wanted me gone. I wondered what else they needed my absence to make believable. Dr. Helen Morris had an office above a bakery on Murray Avenue,
where the hallway smelled like cinnamon rolls and fresh coffee. It felt unfair somehow to carry my ugliest family memories into a place that smelled that warm. I sat across from her with a folder on my knees. For 20 minutes, I explained the pictures, the wedding invitation, the Thanksgiving table, the way my mother could make cruelty sound like etiquette. Then I said the sentence I hated most. Maybe I am making it too big. Dr. Morris did not rush to comfort me. She folded her hands and asked, if this had happened to another daughter, would you call her too sensitive? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. If a family removed a child from holidays, graduations, and weddings, she continued, then told her the pain was a problem, what would you call that? I looked down at my folder. My name was written on the tab in black ink, Claire Whitmore. Seeing it there made my throat ache. I'd call it cruel, I whispered. Then start there. That was the first session. Not a miracle, no swelling music, no sudden forgiveness, just a quiet room and a professional woman refusing to let me insult myself on behalf of people who had hurt me. Over the next visits, we talked about Mom's favorite sentence. Can we just have one peaceful day? Doctor? Morris asked what peaceful meant in my family. I told her it meant Patricia was pleased. Vanessa was admired. Dad was undisturbed. And I was quiet. Then peace was never the absence of conflict, she said. It was the absence of you objecting. I carried that sentence around for days. It changed the shape of old memories. Then Bethany texted me at 11:42 on a Sunday night. Are you awake? I was. She sent 4 screenshots from a family group chat I had never been added to. I really think it's best not to invite Claire this year. She makes everything feel so heavy. Mom deserves one peaceful holiday without Claire's energy. Keep her away from the anniversary video. We want positive memories only. Then Vanessa again. If she asks, just say the file was already finished. I read the messages once, then again. The room went strangely still. They were not reacting to my pain. They were planning around it, editing future gatherings before they even happened, making sure that when the family looked back, my absence would appear natural. I forwarded the screenshots to my private archive and labeled them carefully. Family group chat screenshot from Bethany Reed. Claire excluded from planning discussion. Request made to omit Claire from anniversary video. No adjectives, no screaming, just facts. The next day in therapy, I handed Dr. Morris the printouts. She read them slowly. When she finished, she looked at me and said, Claire, they are not confused about what they're doing. That should have devastated me. Instead, it steadied me. Because if they were not confused, then maybe I did not have to be confused anymore either. For a while, I believed the damage had borders. The Whitmore house, Mom's wall, Vanessa's posts, a group chat where my absence could be discussed like a table setting. Then the lie walked out of the family album and into my real life. I had submitted a small photography portfolio to a Pittsburgh gallery called Northline Studio.
It was not famous, but it mattered to me. They showcased local artists, quiet work, honest work. I had sent portraits of bus stops, diner windows, old hands holding grocery bags, people who looked like they had lived through things and kept standing. The first reply had been warm. Claire, your eye for overlooked subjects is striking. We'd love to discuss a spring group show. For 3 days, I let myself feel proud. Then came the second email. After further consideration, we are unable to move forward at this time. We wish you the best. No reason, no conversation, just a door closing softly. I told Maya over coffee, trying to sound casual. She frowned. That's not how galleries write when they're interested, then suddenly not interested. Maya, don't. What? Oh, don't make me paranoid.
She leaned back, eyes narrowing. Babe, I'm not making you paranoid. Your family already did that. Maya knew someone who volunteered with Northline. I told her not to dig. She dug anyway, because good friends sometimes ignore bad instructions. 2 days later, she came to my apartment with a printed email in a folder. I'm sorry, she said before handing it to me.
The email had been sent from a new account with no real name attached. I am writing out of concern for everyone's safety. Claire Whitmore has a history of unpredictable emotional behavior and serious family concerns. Please be careful putting her in public-facing environments, especially around children or vulnerable guests. No signature, no proof, just poison dressed as caution. I read it twice before the words began to blur. Vanessa, I said.
Maya did not answer immediately.
We can't prove it from this alone.
I know, but the phrasing was familiar.
Everyone's safety, unpredictable energy, family concerns. Vanessa loved words that made cruelty sound responsible. That night, I did not cry. I saved the email. I saved the header information Maya's contact could legally share. I wrote down the date, the gallery name, the first positive reply, the rejection, the anonymous warning. Then I added it to the archive. Potential reputational harm. Anonymous email received by Northline Studio after portfolio submission. Language resembles prior family messaging, but authorship not yet verified. Not yet verified. Nora had not entered my life yet, but some instinct told me to keep the file clean. If Vanessa wanted me to look unstable, I would not hand her a messy record wrapped in rage. Still, rage was there. It sat under my ribs like a hot stone. It was one thing to delete me from old pictures and call it peace. It was another to whisper into rooms I had not even entered yet, warning strangers that I was dangerous. Vanessa was not protecting the family from me. She was protecting her version of the family from the chance that I might be believed. I opened the wedding invitation again and looked at Lily standing in my place. Then I looked at the gallery email. The pattern finally sharpened. If they could make me look absent, they could say I did not care. If they could make me look unstable, they could say I should not be trusted. And if I could not be trusted, then anything with my name on it could be questioned, ignored, or taken over by someone more responsible. I turned off the kitchen light and stood in the dark. For the first time, I was not asking why they wanted me erased. I was asking what they planned to do with the empty space. Grandma Eleanor lived in a small brick house outside Gettysburg, where the porch sagged slightly and the kitchen always smelled like black tea, lemon soap, and butter cookies. I almost turned around twice on the drive there. She was 81, thinner than I remembered, with silver hair pinned at the back of her head and hands that trembled when she poured tea. For most of my life, she had been the family's peacekeeper. Not because she was weak exactly, because she had survived enough noise to believe quiet was mercy. When she opened the door, she touched my cheek. "Claire," she said, "you look like your grandfather when he was caring too much." That nearly undid me.
We sat at her kitchen table beneath a clock shaped like a rooster. I had brought printed photos in a manila envelope, but for several minutes I could not open it. Grandma noticed. "Bad news is heavier when you hold it alone," she said. So I showed her. First the Christmas photo, then Disney, then my graduation. Finally, Vanessa's wedding picture with Lily standing where I had been. Grandma Eleanor took that last page in both hands. At first, she only stared. Then her mouth folded inward, and something in her face changed from confusion to grief. "Oh, Claire," she whispered. "I was there, Grandma. I know you were." The words were so simple, I had to look away. She touched the photo again, tracing the space where my blue dress should have been. "They didn't just edit a picture," she said slowly. "They edited a child out of her own life." I pressed my fingertips hard against the edge of the table. Grandma stood carefully and went to the dining room. I followed as she opened the lower doors of an old cherrywood cabinet. Inside were albums with cracked leather covers, shoeboxes full of loose prints, envelopes from drugstore photo counters, and labels written in her looping hand. "Your mother wanted everything digital," she said. "I never trusted that. Too easy for people to tidy up what they don't want to face." For the next 4 hours, we went through my life. There I was, at age 6, missing a front tooth beside Vanessa on Easter morning. Age 10, leaning over chocolate cake while Grandma stood behind me with flour on her sleeve. Age 15, wrapped in a blanket at a campground while Dad burned hot dogs on a grill. Age 21, pale and stiff in that bridesmaid dress, still holding Vanessa's bouquet. No one had loved me perfectly in those pictures, but I was present. That mattered more than beauty. Grandma's scanner jammed twice. She cursed under her breath in a way that would have shocked Mom. We ate frozen pizza on paper plates because neither of us wanted to stop. At one point, she held a photo of Dad lifting me onto his shoulders at a 4th of July parade. "I saw more than I admitted," she said. I looked at her. She did not excuse herself. That was why I listened. "I thought keeping peace would keep the family together," she continued. "But sometimes peace is just a clean sheet pulled over something that is still bleeding." For years, I had wanted someone older than me to say it had been wrong. Not complicated, not unfortunate. Wrong. Grandma Eleanor reached across the table and covered my hand with hers. "You were not hard to love, Claire," she said. They were hard people to ask love from. I bent over the album and cried into my sleeve like a child. This time, no one told me to be lighter. The next morning, Grandma Eleanor made oatmeal with brown sugar and placed a bowl in front of me like I was still 10. We had scanned nearly 60 photographs the night before. My laptop held proof of birthday candles, muddy camping shoes, school concerts, Christmas mornings, and one miserable blue bridesmaid dress. I thought we had reached the bottom of it. Then Grandma said, "There is something else." Her voice changed when she said it. Not frightened exactly, but smaller. She walked to the hallway closet and pulled down a blue accordion folder. On the tab, in her careful handwriting, were the words, "Whitmore Family Trust." I had heard of the trust in passing. My grandfather had created it before he died. It held the lake cabin in the Poconos, a place we used to visit in summer, and a savings account meant to help keep the property maintained. I knew Vanessa and I were both named in it somehow, but no one had ever explained the details to me. Grandma placed the folder on the table. "Grant came by in April," she said. "He said some paperwork needed updating. Your mother was here, your father too. Vanessa made lunch." Of course Vanessa made lunch. Nothing questionable in our family happened without a nice salad beside it. "What did they ask you to sign?" Grandma's fingers worried the edge of her napkin. "They said it was just to make management easier. The cabin needed repairs, insurance, taxes, that kind of thing. Grant said you were busy in Pittsburgh and didn't want to be bothered." My stomach tightened. He said that? She nodded. Patricia said you had pulled away from the family. Alan said it was practical.
I didn't want to cause trouble. The phrase landed like a stone dropped in old water. I didn't want to cause trouble.
How many doors had those words opened for people like Grant? Grandma slid several papers toward me. I read slowly because legal language always pretends to be boring right before it takes something. Then I saw it. Beneficiary consent and limited power of attorney. My name appeared in the first paragraph. Claire Ann Whitmore. The document stated that I authorized Vanessa Whitmore Hale to represent my beneficial interests in matters involving the Whitmore Family Trust, including decisions related to sale, refinancing, or encumbrance of the Poconos cabin. At the bottom was a signature, Claire A. Whitmore. Only it was not mine. I stared at the letters. The C looped wrong. The W leaned too sharply. Whoever wrote it had copied the shape of my name, not the rhythm of my hand. Grandma watched me with tears in her eyes. I never saw you sign it, she whispered. Because I didn't. The kitchen seemed to tilt, but I stayed seated. Something in me had learned by then that screaming too early only helped people call you unstable. So I took pictures of every page, the dates, the witnesses, the notary stamp, the signature line. Then I said, very carefully, Grandma, I need a lawyer to review this. Her face crumpled. Did I help them hurt you? I reached across the table and held her hand. I don't know everything yet, but I know you're helping me now. Outside, a delivery truck passed on the quiet street. Somewhere in the house, the old scanner clicked as it cooled down. I looked at the wedding photo on my laptop, at Lily standing where I should have been. Then I looked back at the paper, giving Vanessa power over my share. The empty space finally had a purpose. They had not erased me only to make the family look prettier. They had erased me so no one would question why my name stopped mattering. Nora Bennett's office was on the third floor of a brick building in downtown Pittsburgh, between a tax firm and a dentist who advertised painless root canals. It was not dramatic. No marble lobby, no wall of trophies. Just framed degrees, a clean conference table, and a woman in a charcoal blazer who read every page before she reacted. I had expected outrage. Nora gave me something better. Attention. She reviewed the trust papers first, then the copied signature, then the screenshots, the altered photos, the anonymous gallery email, and Bethany's group chat messages. I watched her mark small notes in blue ink, her face unreadable. When she finally looked up, she did not say, "They're criminals." She said, "There are issues here that need formal review." It was almost disappointing until I understood why. What kind of issues? I asked. Potential signature irregularity, possible misrepresentation to a trustee or elder family member, possible undue influence, and depending on what Grant knew or did, serious professional concerns. My throat tightened at Grant's name. But, Nora continued, we do not accuse before we can prove. We preserve, we verify, we document. I nodded, though part of me wanted a louder kind of justice. Nora tapped the wedding photo. This is emotionally powerful. Legally, it helps show pattern and motive. But if you go online and call your sister a fraud, you give them a weapon. So I say nothing? You say the truth in language they can't easily twist. She wrote 3 phrases on a legal pad and turned it toward me. Document bearing my name. Currently under legal review. Pending signature verification. They sound cold, I said. They sound safe, Nora replied. That afternoon, I went home and rebuilt my evidence folder from scratch. I named it The Family They Forgot. Inside were subfolders, original images, altered public posts, printed materials, group chat screenshots,
trust documents, third-party statements, potential reputational harm. Every file received a note: source, date, context. No insults. No guesses dressed as facts.
Original from Grandma Eleanor's album. Version posted by Vanessa Hale, June 2021. Invitation received by mail, January 2025. Document bearing my name, not acknowledged as signed by me, pending legal review. It felt strange to describe my pain like a museum catalog, but clean records gave me a steadiness rage never had. 3 days later, Grant sent a letter. Cease and desist. He accused me of harassing the family, spreading malicious claims, and threatening reputational damage. He warned that any public discussion of the Whitmore Family Trust, Vanessa, or Patricia could result in legal action for defamation. The old Claire would have panicked alone. This Claire emailed Nora. She called within the hour. This is intimidation wearing a suit. What do we do? We answer like adults. Her response was brief, formal, and devastating. She stated that I had made no public defamatory allegations. She requested that Grant, Vanessa, Patricia, and Alan preserve all communications, image files, editing records, trust-related documents, emails, drafts, and devices connected to the matter. Preserve. Such a quiet word, but it changed the room. Because once preservation entered the story, deleting things no longer looked like tidying. It looked like fear. That night, I printed Nora's letter and placed it at the front of my binder. For most of my life, my family had won by making me sound emotional before I could sound truthful. Now I had a different voice beside mine. Measured, precise, unafraid. And for the first time, Grant Hale did not feel like a man holding power. He felt like a man who had just been asked to keep receipts. Before I called Vanessa, I wrote 3 sentences on a yellow sticky note. Do not yell. Do not accuse. Let her talk. Nora had been clear. Pennsylvania is not a place to play games with recording consent. If you record, you tell her first, clearly. So I sat at my kitchen table, phone on speaker, recorder ready, heart punching my ribs like it wanted out. Vanessa answered on the 4th ring. What do you want, Claire? No hello, no warmth, just exhaustion, as if I were a bill she had hoped to ignore. Vanessa, I'm recording this call, I said. If you don't consent, you can hang up now. Silence. Then she laughed. Oh, record whatever you want. No one is going to believe your little documentary. My fingers tightened around the edge of the table, but I kept my voice level. Why did you remove me from the family photos? A cabinet closed on her end. I pictured her in her perfect kitchen. Marble counters wiped clean, Lily School art on the fridge, every visible surface curated. You're unbelievable, she said. Mom is sick with stress, Dad barely sleeps, and you're still obsessed with pictures? You put your daughter in my place at your wedding. She's my daughter. She belongs in family memories. She wasn't born. Vanessa exhaled sharply. You always do this. You pick one detail and miss the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that I was there. No, Claire. The bigger picture is that I stayed. The word stayed came out like a crown placed on her own head. I took Mom to appointments. I hosted Thanksgiving. I planned birthdays. I checked on Grandma. I sat through Dad's insurance stories. I kept this family functioning while you ran off to Pittsburgh and acted superior. I left because there was no room for me. There was room, she snapped. You just hated the seat. I looked at the sticky note. Let her talk. Vanessa continued, faster now. You don't get to disappear for years and then demand equal space in every memory. People remember who shows up. I showed up at your wedding. You showed up miserable because you humiliated me. Oh, please. You wore a dress and survived. That sentence was so small, so cruelly casual that I almost forgot the plan. Almost.
What about the trust papers? I asked. Another silence, thinner this time. You need to stop digging into things you don't understand. I understand my name is on a document I never signed. Grant handled the paperwork properly. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. Then her voice lowered, polished again. Listen to me. People believe what they see, and for years, they haven't seen you. There it was. Not anger, not confusion, strategy. I looked at the recorder, counting seconds on my screen. You made sure of that, I said. Vanessa did not deny it. Instead, she said, Mom and Dad deserve one beautiful night for their anniversary. Do not ruin it. The theme is Whitmore family legacy, Claire. Legacy means the people who stayed. I almost smiled then, not because anything was funny, but because she had just named the stage herself. Whitmore Family Legacy, a country club outside Lancaster. 17 minutes of video. Church friends, neighbors, relatives, Grant's professional contacts, everyone gathered to admire the family Vanessa had edited into existence. Enjoy your beautiful night, I said. Claire, I ended the call before she could turn warning into victimhood. For a long time, I sat still in the kitchen, listening to the refrigerator hum. Then I saved the file, copied it twice, and sent it to Nora with one note. She knew I was recording. My hands were no longer shaking. Vanessa was right about one thing. People believed what they saw. So maybe it was time they saw everything. Nora moved first. She filed a formal request to pause any sale, refinancing, or transfer connected to the Poconos cabin until the signature bearing my name could be reviewed. She kept every word measured. No shouting, no accusations on paper. Just enough legal pressure to make Grant understand the trust was no longer his private hallway to walk through. My part was quieter. Vanessa had opened an online folder for relatives to upload photos and short video messages for Mom and Dad's 42nd anniversary party. The theme, printed in gold letters on the invitation, was Whitmore Family Legacy. So I submitted a file. Not revenge music, not insults, not a tearful speech, a correction. The first screen read, Family Archive Clarification. Then came the original photos beside the altered versions. Disney, Christmas, graduation, camping, Vanessa's wedding, dates, sources, simple captions. Original from Grandma Eleanor Whitmore's album. Version posted publicly by Vanessa Hale. Claire Whitmore present in original image. Bethany recorded one sentence for me. I remember Claire at these events. I was there too. Grandma Eleanor recorded hers sitting at her kitchen table, hands folded over a blue cardigan. When a family removes a child from its memories, it is not protecting peace. It is teaching everyone that love can be conditional. Then came Vanessa's voice from the call she knew I was recording. People believe what they see, and for years, they haven't seen you. Daniel Price, the videographer, added my segment into the family video, exactly where the archive portion began. He later told Bethany he assumed it was a planned emotional reveal. Vanessa had collected so many family materials that he had no reason to doubt a file submitted through her own link. Grant reviewed the 17-minute preview. Or he was supposed to. At the time, his real estate deal outside Harrisburg was bleeding money, and Nora's preservation letter had landed like a brick on his desk. He watched the opening minutes, saw smiling baby pictures and wedding clips, then emailed Daniel. Looks good. Approved. That email mattered. On the night of the party, I stayed in Pittsburgh. I wore sweatpants, made chamomile tea I barely touched,
and kept my phone face up on the coffee table. Bethany was at the country club, seated near Aunt Marjorie, her phone hidden low in her lap. The first video she sent showed the room glowing. White tablecloths, gold votive candles, champagne glasses. Mom in a cream dress with pearls. Dad in a navy suit. Vanessa moving between tables like she owned the air. Grant shaking hands with men who laughed too loudly at his jokes. Dad gave a speech about loyalty. Through every season, he said, this family has stood together. I watched that clip twice. Then Bethany sent another. The room had gone dark for the video. At first, people laughed. Vanessa as a child missing her front teeth. Mom and Dad at the lake. Christmas mornings. Backyard cookouts. The kind of memories that make people forgive the lighting and believe the story. Then, halfway through, the screen faded to black. A photo appeared. Disney, 1998. Me in Minnie Mouse ears. Beside it appeared Vanessa's posted version, where I was gone. The room went still. Another pair followed. Christmas, graduation, camping. Each original placing me back where I had always been. Each alter version showing the space my family had preferred. Then the wedding photo filled the screen. In the original, I stood beside Vanessa in the pale blue dress. In the altered version, Lily smiled in my place. Someone near the front said, clearly enough for Bethany's phone to catch it, "But Lily wasn't even born then." Mom's hand flew to her pearls. Vanessa stood so fast her chair scraped the floor. Grant marched toward the AV table, but Daniel lifted both hands. "Mr. Hale, you approved the final cut by email." People turned, not toward the screen, toward Grant. My recorded voice played last, calm enough that I barely recognized myself. My name is Claire Whitmore. I am the youngest daughter of Patricia and Alan Whitmore. I am not here to ruin a celebration. I am here to return the truth to the years it was taken from. No one clapped. That was better. Applause ends a moment. Silence lets it sink in. Bethany called me from the country club parking lot. For a few seconds, all I heard was wind and her breathing. "Claire," and she said, "They know." I sat on my couch in Pittsburgh, one hand wrapped around a mug of cold tea, and closed my eyes. Inside that ballroom, Mom had tried to smile through the disaster. Bethany said she told Aunt Marjorie I was unwell and looking for attention. But this time, the old script did not work. Aunt Marjorie had cried. One of Mom's church friends asked, "Patricia, why would anyone do that to their own daughter?" Dad did not defend her. He did not defend me either. He just sat with his hands folded, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. Vanessa locked her Instagram before midnight. By Monday, Mom had stepped away from the church hospitality committee for personal reasons. Dad stopped answering calls from relatives. Grant's firm requested an internal explanation after Nora's preservation letter, and the trust documents raised questions he could not charm away. Nora kept everything professional. She pushed for signature verification on the document bearing my name. Any movement involving the Poconos cabin was paused. The Whitmore Family Trust, once treated like Vanessa and Grant's private inheritance, was suddenly under lights too bright for their version of the story. Grandma Eleanor hired her own attorney. "I should have done this years ago," she told me over the phone. "You're doing it now," I said. She amended the trust so no one could represent my interests without my direct written consent, witnessed independently. Her voice trembled when she said she was sorry. I believed her. Not because it fixed everything, but because she did not ask me to comfort her after hurting me. 2 weeks later, Dad called. I almost let it go to voicemail. "Claire," he said, "I didn't know it had gone this far." I looked at the frame scan of my 10th birthday on my desk. Chocolate cake, 10 candles, Grandma's flour-dusted sleeve. "Dad," I said, "you knew enough to stay quiet."
He did not answer. That silence used to make me beg. This time, I let it sit between us until he understood I would not carry it for him anymore.
Months passed. Therapy did not make me fearless, but it made me honest. I changed teams at work and started leading a feature that helped users preserve original image histories. On weekends, I photographed people most others passed by. An old man waiting at a bus stop, a waitress wiping down a diner counter, a mother holding her child under a broken umbrella. My first small show in Pittsburgh was called The Ones Who Stayed in the Frame. Maya came, Bethany came, Grandma Eleanor came with a cane and lipstick the color of cranberries. Vanessa did not come. Mom did not apologize. Dad sent a card I did not open. I did not need their words to prove my life had happened. One October afternoon, I photographed a young family in Shenley Park. Through the lens, I noticed their little girl standing half a step outside the group, unsure whether to move closer. I lowered the camera. "Stay right there, sweetheart," I said. Then I stepped back until she was fully in the frame. The picture was not perfect. It was true. Some families only love you when you stand where they place you. But love that needs editing, erasing, or forged silence to survive is not love. It is image management. If this story touched you, please leave a like for the channel. If you have any thoughts, share them in the comments and tell us where you are listening from. Thank you for staying until the end. Wishing you health, peace, and strength. See you again in the next story on Revenge Glow.